We good to go? We'll call this meeting of the Oceanside City Council to order and start with a roll call, please.
Mayor White?
Here.
Councilmember, Deputy Mayor Stellar?
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Here.
And
Mullen?
The council meeting closed session to discuss item 1 on the agenda, conference of labor negotiator. The council will discuss the, Rob, which is the group we're meeting on this afternoon? Yeah, the MECO and only MECO though, right? OPOA, I'm sorry. So MECO and OPOA. Thank you.
Adjourn the closed session.
Yes, God, sometimes open up the door.
Test 1, 2, test. Might be the main. Does it sound good now? Okay.
Deputy Mayor Feller will lead us in that, please.
We're here today with the mayor, who is presenting us with a proclamation of World Spay Day. So it brings in the last Tuesday of February, it's World Spay Day. Spaying and neutering is very dear to my heart. I'm very passionate about this because it's still estimated about 1.5 million animals are being euthanized in the shelters in the United States. So spaying and neutering helps bring those numbers down to prevent overpopulation. Not only does it prevent overpopulation, but it also prevents certain types of cancer and certain types of behavioral issues. We're very fortunate at the San Diego Humane Society. We have a program called Getting It Down to Zero. And in July 2015, we were able to get the number down to zero. So any animal that is treatable or a healthy animal brought into the San Diego Humane Society will be saved. Other counties, I can't say that So we really want to focus on staying in the room and keeping that number down to 0 here. I want to thank you, Mayor, for what you did for us. Thank you so much. Flurry information, so if anybody wants to adopt a bunny, come down to our Oceanside campus and come and check her out. It's a little baby, so it's got a little bit of growing in. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mullen?
Do you want to do roll call?
Mayor White,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller,
Here.
Councilmember Kime,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez, and Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. The council met in closed session at 3:30 to discuss item 1 on the closed session agenda, conference with labor negotiator and with respect to the negotiations involving the management employees of the City of Oceanside and the Oceanside Police Officers Association. The council did meet and give direction on both items, but there's no action to report at this time under the Brown Act.
We'll do our consent calendar items. Is there any?
None of the items have been pulled.
Then I'll move approval of consent calendar items.
I'll second that, but I will be recusing myself and let the record reflect that I'm recusing myself on item number 7.
Please vote.
Councilmember Rodriguez. Motion passes 5-0.
We'll go to item 13, which is approval of the draft master plan for the arts.
Honorable Mayor and Council Member Sherry Cosby, Library Director, the Library Department is here tonight to present the final draft of OArts, Oceanside's Master Plan for the Arts. We're very excited to be at this point in the process. It's been an amazing experience, and we've received an incredible amount of support from our community. I'd like to introduce and acknowledge the work of our consultant, David Pletner Sanders from the Cultural Planning Group. Thank you, David. The work of the Arts Commission needs to be acknowledged as well, and Arts Commission Chair Rebecca Pierce Goodman is here tonight along with other commissioners. Thank you. The Library Department supplies staff support to the Arts Commission, and we've been working in the last couple of years to increase that support. And Library Division Manager C.J. Demento has worked closely with David and the Arts Commission and the community on this master plan, and I've asked her to make the presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, City Council members, C.J. Demento, Library Division Manager, OArts, Master Plan for the Arts. In 2016, we started the process of arts planning with the Library Department overseeing the Arts Commission and hosting a public forum on the arts, followed by the development of an RFP for Master Planning Services. In 2017, Cultural Planning Group was selected as the consultant, and the formal planning process began with meetings with city officials, city departments, as well as key stakeholders. Public outreach began throughout the city in 2017 as well. Community interaction and engagement continued through 2018, and a draft plan was developed and presented at a public town hall and available online for input. The Arts Commission unanimously approved recommending the adoption of the plan by the City Council, and that leads us to today. This is the very first cultural plan for the City of Oceanside. 17 steering committee members were selected from arts and culture organizations and community groups. A total of over 300 people participated in the process of this plan. 4 main goals were identified through 19 months of a planning process on this 10-year plan. Community engagement was ongoing and done throughout the community with the use of your library's bookmobiles. Input was received throughout schools, senior centers, resource centers, League of Women Voters meetings, libraries, and town halls. So what has our planning included, and what is Oceanside's arts and culture? One thing that we heard throughout the planning process is that Oceanside very much values its unique and authentic culture and want to see it preserved and promoted. These are snapshots of the rich cultural life only some of the organizations, venues, events, and people that contribute to Oceanside's unique and desirable quality of life. Oceanside is beginning a new chapter in its arts, but the city began its role in the early 90s with the adoption of the first public art policy. Oceanside is one of about 4,500 U.S. cities that promote the arts through their arts commissions or arts councils. The great majority of these cities have developed arts master plans, just like the one that you have before you today. So the 4 major goals of OArts are to support Oceanside's economic development through arts and culture, to enhance Oceanside's cityscape through creative placemaking, to improve Oceanside as a place for artists and creatives to thrive and contribute to our community, and to enhance arts governance within city government. The library's strategic plan identifies implementation of the master plan for the arts as an important element of their goal to connect through culture, community, and civic participation. Other city and partner organizations' plans also speak to the importance of arts and culture initiatives in our community. Since the process of working on the master plan has started, collaboration has created some real results. The partners of the Oceanside Public Library and the Arts Commission, the Oceanside Museum of Art, Main Street Oceanside, and Visit Oceanside created a successful bid for one of the state's first 14 cultural district designations in our downtown area. Other collaborative efforts have brought great programming and grants to Oceanside. The Oceanside Public Library was created in 1904, and it has served as the cultural heart of the city of Oceanside. It also works as a community connector, increasing the quality of life of the residents of Oceanside. The library is ready to take the lead on implementing this plan. So following adoption of the plan, the work will continue. The Arts Commission is very committed to showing the value of arts in Oceanside. Using the Arts Commission's current funds, an economic impact study will be done with the Americans for the Arts to delineate the impact of the arts on our city. A work plan will be created to tackle the plan priorities, which include an update of the current arts and public places policy. Some of the plan's objectives can be accomplished with existing resources. However, some elements will require additional funding to implement, and the Library Department will make every effort to seek grant funding to fit these projects. Other projects may be brought forward through the annual budget process for council consideration, depending on the city's capacity to fund them. The Arts Commission unanimously approved the master plan for the arts on June 4th, 2018. and staff is recommending that the City Council approve the draft master plan for the arts to be implemented by the Library Department, overseeing your Arts Commission. Thank you, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you. Is there any public?
The first speaker is Amber Newman, followed by Maria Mingalone. Switch my glasses here. I'm blinded with that without them. Okay. Here we go. Hello, my name is Amber Newman. Speaking on behalf of the arts here, arts and culture have been proven to benefit communities. They encourage public dialogue and contribute to a community's creative growth. They provide an avenue to explore the kind of out-of-the-box ideas that retain our past while building towards our future. They expand our community capacity for unity, and they attract visitors and artists to our city. Now, art is a universal language that everyone understands. It is a diverse conversation that connects us across cultures, space, and time. Art compels wonder. It fosters creativity and inspires innovation. It even teaches empathy. It can also provide community-positive outlets for those who may otherwise find more mischievous ways of spending their time. In short, art brings us all together. It is vital that the City of Oceanside approve and implement the O-Arts Master Plan for the Arts. As an executive board member of the Oceanside Cultural Arts Foundation, as well as a member and regular event sponsor of the Oceanside Museum of Art, I am passionate about arts for our community. Approving this plan will benefit all walks of life in Oceanside, locals and visitors alike. I urge you to please vote yes on this proposal.
Hello, good evening, Honorary Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council members. My name is Maria Mingalone. I'm the Vice Chair of the Arts Commission. I'm on the steering committee for the Oceanside California Cultural District. I'm on the leadership table for Oceanside Promise. I sit on the North County Arts Network, and also I'm on the board of directors of the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. So I do have a little bias towards the arts. I'm the executive director of the Oceanside Museum of Art, and I do know that our board of directors sent a letter of support that I believe you received. But I'm actually here today just as a resident. I live only a few blocks away from here, and I just know as someone who lives in the city that I really want to have a quality of life, that people want to live in a city that is vibrant, lively, cultural, and culturally active. I think there are many avenues for developing a healthy city, all of which include, I should say, public safety, healthy infrastructure, viable housing and jobs, healthy and meaningful activities. We want to have good places to go to eat. We want to have great places to gather, and I think arts and culture help provide those avenues. They're really important socially important ways for people to come together, to share their similarities, to share their differences. It's a really great and positive way for people to connect, and a valuable way to have a mix of activities in a lively downtown. I do urge you to support the master plan and really appreciate all the work of the fellow commissioners and David Sanders in putting it together, and Sherry and the library support. Thank you very much.
And the last speaker is Terry Zimdorf.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Just a little background about me. I'm a native San Diegan, grew up about 20 miles south. I always thought that all the culture there was in San Diego was in Balboa Park. For the last 37 years, I've lived in Encinitas in Liebenheim. About 6 years ago, I saw a little blurb in the newspaper on Oceanside Museum of Art. So I investigated, came up here, and was immediately impressed with the vitality, energy, community orientation of the museum. I started volunteering in the education department, led the docents to be developed, and now I'm a board member. I moved here in October. Such is my commitment and my attraction to your community. Welcome. And I also want to state that the attraction is reflected in the docent group. We have 15 docents in the education department, 5 of those come here from Encinitas. 2 come from Orange County. So this is having a far-reaching effect. We can further our cultural enhancement, but we can't do it by accident. We need intent and a strategy, and I believe this is it. So as a citizen and president of the Board of Trustees of the Oceanside Museum of Art, I urge you to support OArts. Thank you.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. Oh, I'm just happy to be able to move to support this. So move approval. I am so proud of where we've been and now how much we've been able to accomplish in the last 20 years. I feel really honored to have been able to be part of the $1 million grant that led to that finished the expansion of the Museum of Art. I personally am involved with Noche Mexicana. It was really nice to see those photos. We're going to have our 14th annual, and it is a labor of love for our entire community, and really happy to be able to bring that to Oceanside and to be able to show that we now partner with Wells Fargo and NBC Univision here in Oceanside. So a city is made rich by its diversity, for me, the diversity and its cultural institutions, and I am so proud of our Oceanside Public Library and our Oceanside Museum of Art, as well as all the other organizations that we have, and every single effort. It continues. Sometimes it's very difficult. Artists really care about their expressions, and they're not rich, but they're rich in what they produce, in be it song, dance, the visual arts. It's so wonderful. So I move approval, and I look forward to seeing much, much more. Thank you.
Councilmember Feller.
Thank you. Pardon me, I'll second that. I had the opportunity to visit with CJ and Sherry. I've been impressed since Brad was the liaison, and Brad was he was a special addition for putting this Arts Commission together. But CJ and her efforts through being recommended by Sherry to take this over has dived in and made a big wave, I think, for the future. I had a meeting with them, and it was before I actually got the chance to read the list of the strategies, and so I have a couple of suggestions that, since this is a draft, and I'm just going to throw a couple things out. Please, no colored crosswalks. Couple of questions about current art in public places and the 1% capital improvement project budgets. Looking at that 1% from the public, I assume that's part of this, but have we decided to do the 1% or the 2%? We haven't made that decision yet.
Councilmember Feller, Honorable Mayor, and council members, that's a great question. We were very careful in the way that we put this plan together, including the way that we worded some of those things that involve funding, specifically when they have to do with the CIP. If you notice, everything is council can direct us to investigate. So we have left it to take direction from you on what you would want us to do with those things. idea here is to get a plan passed, to get a vision put in place, and then the things that we are able to accomplish, we start accomplishing. The things that need funding, we start looking for ways to do funding. But you're not obligated in any way to dollars right now, and we've left it to take direction from you on how you would want us to proceed.
So that leads to 1% of current CIP is $400,000, and that's what you had written in the back. But
that's what we wrote to give you an example of if you were to direct us to look at that there is some possible funding there and what the amount would be.
Okay, but do we need to add money to our budget if those CIP projects are, if you have those projects in the CIP and it takes 1%, where does that $400,000 come from? Does something miss out in the CIP?
Did you want to answer that? Yes.
Good evening, Councilman. A quick answer is that if you do decide to allocate 1% of your CIP, it would depend on the circumstances of the project, whether it would be a kind of extra expense or whether it could be built in. For example, you may be familiar with public art that's included in a terrazzo floor. You might see that in a train station or in an airport. In that case, the cost of the floor really isn't increased that much by adding a terrazzo design, an artistic element to it. In other cases, you might need the full 1% and maybe some additional grant funds to be able to accomplish the artistic purpose of the project. So the answer is, I think it depends.
Okay. I'm going to look up what terrazzo is later, but not really sure.
Just means tile. It just means a tile floor.
Okay. Tile floor. Murals, I would like us to set very high standards on murals. It says here in 2.3.2, a bunch of points. Explore development of the Junior Seau Pier Amphitheater into a cultural venue. The possible operation, park future naming rights, something that those kinds of things could be done sooner rather than later if those people were inclined to improve the band shell. I think that would be important. The other question was the mini grant program, subject to council approval again, but those kinds of things. You've already got artspace.org doing some things. Would they be somebody that can do the mini grant programs, or is that something that staff wants to do?
If you remember, several years ago, when the Arts Commission was given their annual $25,000 in funding, they reached out to different nonprofits within the city that provided arts programming for children, and then brought to you a list of recommendations and made small $5,000 grants to the different groups so that they could put on some kind of a special arts programming for children. So there's the opportunity to reinstate that. There's the opportunity to redefine it, to bring in other groups. As you mentioned, the arts.org. So it's open to whatever direction we want to take it, and we would be bringing those recommendations to the council for your approval.
Okay, very good. And then the last things is 3.2.2 long-term higher cost actions. Grants should require matching funds to provide greater leverage of public dollars, and we do that a lot with some of our other capital type improvements. So I think you've definitely come up with a great plan, and I know that the staff has worked hard, the Arts Commission worked hard, the group that oversaw this cultural plan did a great job, and I think I did have one other note. Research and consider a potential future private development fee. Take that one slow. Maybe look at how they want to fit it into their budget. So, and did I already second that? Do I have more time left? Oh, well, let me talk some more. Never mind.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
10 minutes, 16. How many? Well, let's go to item 17. We'll do the mayor and council items up until we can, till 6 o'clock. 17 is a request to make appointments and recommendations to the newly created Measure X Citizens Oversight Committee. You have a list of the recommended candidates for that committee in your backup material, and I would move approval of that recommendation.
Second.
And we have one speaker. Cindy, roll call.
Honorable Mayor, Council. I was reading over the list of recommendations, and I know that I submitted my application, and I submitted for the finance and the accounting, but that's not what I am here to say. I just noticed that there wasn't any alternative positions listed, so I wanted to see, based on the information that you had on my education and my work experience in investing in finance and accounting and reading financial reports and auditing, that you would consider me as an alternative. I know that there was a lot of candidates, but I would be excited to be a part of something bigger than myself and something for the city, because you know I just love this city. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I don't believe there were any alternate positions in the language, but if a vacancy occurs at some point, then other applicants can apply again for that vacancy. Councilmember Sanchez?
Thank you, and I recognize, and for the public's information, there are actually, out of the 7 slots, 4 of them are pretty much decided by certain organizations. For example, the Chamber has a representative, the San Diego Taxpayers Association has a representative, the police officers have a representative, and the firefighters have a representative. So really we have 3 that we could actually appoint, outside of that. I mean, yes, we still have to confirm those people, and we're doing that tonight. But I just wanted to point out that, and then 2 of them are qualified professionals, and 1 is a community at large representative. So that makes the 7. I just wanted to point out that the recommendation only has 1 woman out of 7, and would just like to get more women on our boards and commissions, and especially this one. We do have Colleen O'Hara, who is being recommended, but then we do have another male being recommended for the qualified, and that happens to be former Councilmember Kern. For at large, we do have finally some diversity. Hi, Rob. Thank you so much for applying. Really appreciate that. And I just want to go on record as saying that I think we should have worked harder on getting better representation on this, in terms of, male, female, and some more diversity. Because we just talked about how diverse our community is, and the cultural district and all that. And we have a lot of leaders within our community. That's another thing that I'm very, very proud of. And so I would have recommended Cindy Rocco. Cindy, I think that I was very impressed by your background in finance. Where are you? I don't know where you went, but there you are. So I would have recommended Cindy to make a better balance. Those are my comments.
Councilmember Klein?
I just wanted to thank everyone who did apply. Looking at the applications, there were some incredible resumes with a wide range of experience, and I think the city is extremely lucky to have a pool of applicants that's that talented and interested. So I'm confident that we are starting Measure X Citizens Oversight Committee on the right foot with that level of experience.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
So if my vote could reflect yes on all except for the position, that would be Mr. Kern. In favor of Cindy Rocco, a woman. Thank you. Can you please? Motion passes 5-0, except nothing else. Thank you.
Item 18, Councilmember Rodriguez, if you'd like to.
Yes, so I approached the mayor on bringing this item forward. I think it will assist in relieving pressure, especially from the state and the county levels, on the housing demands. We've already implemented accessory dwelling unit changes as of, I believe, last year. However, I think we can do more to encourage more infill through accessory dwelling units by enhancing our program, packaging it up in a way that's incentivized, better timelines, maybe even the potential of lesser fees. And I would like to have staff move forward on creating a program that has expedited 30-day or less timelines for non-coastal zone applicants and 60 days for coastal zone applicants, reduced fees to be considered, and encourage applications. Staff to prepare and provide ADU marketing materials. I think the marketing element and how we package this to make it easy, to make it checklist orientated for individuals who maybe do not have experience in construction and can look at something and go, wow, I can do that. And we can get some more granny flats built here in Oceanside, which would include obviously drawings, layouts, step-by-step, Q&A, and even the potential of some videos. And the marketing campaign of pretty much an enhanced ADU program. So I would really like to move forward on a program like this, and I think we can add a lot of units to accommodate the lower income housing demands that we need here in Oceanside.
And we have one speaker, John Book.
Joan Bachman. Joan Bachman, local resident. I've spoken on this before, and I think we're doing the least common denominator sort of solution with ADUs. I know it's a state law, I know all of that. But we have a better solution out there. And you know what it is. We have the nodes and avenues concept of concentrating commercial. So we can get rid of all those strip mall, failed commercial, and put housing there. I really encourage you to look around at cities that are thriving, and they do not have continuous commercial down every single one of their major streets. I talked to Councilmember Rodriguez one time, mentioned El Cajon Boulevard, and what a mess that street is down in San Diego. What a difference it would make to break that up with landscaped areas and housing, and concentrate those commercial areas. Because that long strip mall isn't doing anybody any favors. Neither is Oceanside Boulevard, neither is parts of Mission. And you'll notice, as they spread just all up and down Coast Highway again, we will start to see failures. So we need to take to heart the nodes concept, because we've got all kinds of land on all our major streets, which puts it right there with transit, everything you want for that kind of housing. You can build things with amenities rather than a Home Depot shed in everybody's backyard. You can have something with amenities and services for people. So we have a great start on Mission Avenue. That's what we need to be looking at. There's multiple places for that on Oceanside Boulevard, on other parts of Mission, on Douglas, everywhere. And we need to divide this city up and start to take that seriously. And what is going to happen to our historic neighborhoods is that they will be the first to densify. This book has already been written. This happens every time. You take a beautiful historic neighborhood, it starts to go downhill. They all sound like a great idea now, like craft breweries are all wonderful, but when things turn into bars and when it turns into just slumlords, it's a problem. So we need to be thinking more intelligently about this, and I encourage you to take that seriously and move forward with a new concept. Thank you.
Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you. This is actually state law, and we adopted state law. So the accessory dwelling unit, our current law basically reflects that. As to reduce costs, I know that we have cost recovery, basically net neutral. We have staff, especially building and planning. Whatever the time they spend is how much we charge. We're not making a profit off of that. So I would like to see what staff thinks about preparing and providing marketing material to include drawings and layouts, that kind of stuff. Right now, there's a lot of building going on in Oceanside, and I don't know if they have the time to be doing this, but I would like to see, I think is it Encinitas, that's doing some, kind of ready plans, right? You present them, and I don't know who actually came up with them, but it would be great. I don't know. I mean, bottom line is we have to make sure that it's to code, and those are the costs, right, that people really incur is making sure that it's to code. So I would just like to see that staff, what can we do? What kind of timing do we have? Is 30 days realistic? Because if not realistic, I don't want to have to come back and say, a little longer. So maybe 45 days, or how long would it take?
If I could, Honorable Mayor, council members, the 30 days should be fine so long as the applicants are getting their materials back to us on a timely basis. The 60 days in the coastal zone is a little more challenging if the ADU is associated with another project that requires a coastal permit.
Right, it could take 6 months out, a year.
It could take a lot longer, but we'll certainly put a program together and share it with the council.
Okay, and I think that's what I believe that's what the idea was here, to be a little more creative, see what our departments can come up with, how much money it's going to cost us in terms of, staff time, and figuring out, once it's done, how much to charge. Once it's done, I think we can spread it out, figure out how long it'll take to have that cost recovery. But I'm really hoping, when this came forward, of course, the policy behind it from the state was, we need more housing, so let's make it easier. It doesn't have to be attached. It doesn't have to be on just one floor. It could be up, up on the second floor. So there are a lot of things that the state allows for, in which we needed to adopt, and so to discuss timing and to discuss what kind of materials we can come up with, like what Encinitas did. Maybe we can even borrow some of their marketing stuff or plans would be great. Thank you.
Councilor Feller.
Thank you. That might be what Joan was referring to, was the sheds, the Home Depot sheds that appeared in the newspaper, the project in Encinitas. So I just want to make sure that we're covering our costs and doing things much quicker is something I like to see happen. I don't know how successful ADUs are going to be. I would not do that unless I had, well, I couldn't do it for any of my families. But I think if I'd had a place besides the house for my mother-in-law, I think we would have probably done something like this. But I don't know if that's what it took to keep her with us. I don't know how successful this will be. Most of our lots are fairly small. But I support this going forward. Just make sure we're covering our costs.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
I think we're all on the same page. I'm looking at this from the perspective of a big picture. We have a lot of pressure to build housing and to build low-income housing. And when I sat there and I analyzed the city of Oceanside and lot size and taking out HOAs, taking out areas where there's not the usage is not going to be appropriate on the sewers and those impacts, in my own personal estimation, and staff can get back, I'm looking at 300 to 400 in the next 3 to 4 years, granny flats. But the problem is we have to package this up in a way that makes it easier for owners to consider. It will not only add value to their land, it will also create additional income for our residents, and it will also meet housing demands based on the regional housing needs assessment. So we're really killing a lot of birds with one stone in improving the packaging of a program like this. So I'm really excited. I have faith that it will be a very successful program, and I'm excited to see what staff comes back with. So I would like to move for approval on item number 18.
I think staff has direction. I'm not really sure we need a motion, because some of the stuff is not going to, we're not going to be able to do, like reduce the cost. It's going to have to be.
They're going to come back with that report for us to do, but I'm wanting to move forward on a motion for giving them instruction to do that.
I'll second that. Please vote.
Okay. So it's not everything. Okay.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll go to item 19, which is a request by myself and the deputy mayor in regards to allocating funds from Measure X to several projects, which include the beachfront restrooms and improvements, the El Corazon Community Room and an Aquatic Center, and Fire Station 1. Before Measure X passed and after, as I was talking to community groups, in fact, apparently there's a video flying around of one of them. My commitment was that should it pass, that we would deliver to the community several projects that were deemed to be high priority projects that were lacking funding, and those included the ones I just mentioned. It seems premature since we just appointed the Measure X Oversight Committee, but I did that on purpose to eliminate that committee from having to decide particularly which priority projects were a higher priority, because in my estimation, the El Corazon project and the beachfront restrooms are the two highest priority projects we have, particularly since we broke ground this morning on the hotel project. The last thing we need when that project opens its doors are the restrooms that are down by that amphitheater. I don't know if you use them, but I no longer do. So anyway, the issue here before us is I would like to allocate funding, and that funding would be a loan agreement from the city's portfolio that will be paid back with the future revenues. It's less than even half of the total revenues over the next 7 years to pay for and advance those projects. Public?
Yep. The first speaker is Tony Davis, followed by Midori Simovich.
Thank you. I'm a 20-year resident of Oceanside. I support the Aquatic Center. I've been pursuing this for about 5 years for the two new council members. The others know me probably by heart by now. I exist in a community that's aquatic swimmers and sports around aquatics and lifeguarding and the beach and surfers.
This is the community I'm in. These are the people that I represent. And this group would like to see this aquatic center get done. We've been working on it for a long time. This group represents people, like I said, that become lifeguards. Some of them were in the original junior lifeguard program. Some of those kids end up swimming in high school at El Camino. Sometimes they swim at Oceanside. Sometimes they play water polo at El Camino, and this is boys and girls. Pretty rough sport, but we got some tough ones out there. Oceanside also has water polo, boys and girls. Then you've got the surfers. Anyone that needs to know how to swim and learn how to swim. So the current pool that we have is Brook Street. And it's probably a surprise to a lot of you guys that this was built in the 1950s. So that makes it a really old pool. I don't believe we have any parks that have play structures that are that old. I don't believe we have a lot of things that are that old. So this aquatic center is way overdue. I think it's going to help bring together a bigger community that will become a bigger part of Oceanside. I think it's important as Oceanside grows to have an aquatic center. I think El Corazon being the spot, the heart of the city, this will be a great place to put it. We already have the location. I believe you're about $500,000 in already, working on getting it set up. So I think this is a great way to get it moving, and I support it. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that do too. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Midori Simovic. Thank you very much for listening to me. Tony and I were one of the ones that asked for decent swimming pool first. And it became to the point that the city promised us to build the aquatic center. And then just we mentioned that the project that you are providing, or our money is providing for ourselves, needs to be also a little bit more productive. For the things that you are talking about the priority, we don't have a aquatic center. This city has grown so much. When I came to this in front of you, I was rather newer citizen. Now I am being here many years now, and my son was just a high school, first freshman. Now he is working. So I would like to see now, at this rate, our son may be using the swimming pool if it builds for his grandchildren. That's just not right. So please, make it a priority. It will bring us, this city, some money by creating it. You are losing lots of money outside of this city because a lot of swimmers, water polo tournaments, swimming meet, and all kinds of stuff can happen in the new aquatic center, and the city will profit from that activity. And everybody needs to learn to swim when being an Oceanside, along the resident of Oceanside. So I beg you to move forward, giving the funds to the aquatic center. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jimmy Knott, followed by Diane Langard.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Cherry Lane. I have an issue on this first off. There had been a series of public surveys on Measure X. The city manager has possession of those surveys. I did not hear a report to the public on this item when this item was brought up by the mayor. From what I understand, these were ranked less than what the public wanted. The public wanted, from what I understood, Roadways, number one, for repairs and making sure that they were properly addressed and making sure that the public safety was involved. The second thing that was presented as well, from what I understood, was making sure the city was clean and presentable. At least that's from what I heard. I don't know how true these are, but that's some of the words that was used out in the community to promote Measure X. And then there was also from the police and fire unions as well. Different things were told to the public. I think what the public needs to know is the direct facts. What did those surveys say and what were those rankings? And what rankings did these items come up? Then we need to take and pass these to the newly assigned committee, get their opinion, and they can come back to the city council and present it in a public forum. And that way they can render their decision and say this is what should be done. And then you can take their advice or not. And then you take the ramifications from that. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Diane Nygaard, and I'm here tonight representing Friends of El Corazon. And we are thrilled to see funding for the swim center included here tonight. This center has been a 20-year promise to this community, and it's a key part of the El Corazon plan. 3 times previously, the City Council considered funds for construction of the swim center and kicked the can down the road. Tonight, we ask you to stop kicking the can and approve funding. Development in El Corazon is already under construction and more is planned. The public amenities that were supposed to be part of this park need to also be moving forward. Delays now will only cost us more money as work is already underway. And we don't want that hole filled up with water without a bottom to the pool. Anyhow, you've got time to juggle the funds around, so funds you advance tonight could be reimbursed from multiple sources, including the sales tax, park impact fees that are in the process of being adjusted, civic center bonds, private donations. The additional funds our community has with the sales tax gives you greater flexibility to use them wisely and to meet the priority needs of this community. So move forward tonight on the critically needed swim center. That activity there, the swim meets that can be held on that site, will really help give an economic boost to the hotel and the other commercial development. Those two will feed each other. We need both moving together. Swim center will help fulfill that promise made almost 10 years ago for El Corazon, a park in the heart of Oceanside. Please vote yes for our kids, our community, our future. Thank you.
The next speaker is Matt Smith, followed by Arlene Hammersmith.
Hello there. My name is Matt Smith. I've been a resident here for almost 20 years. I have 4 kids going to El Camino and Ivy Ranch Elementary. The pool that they're using right now, as you well know, is below standard. It's almost a half-century old. And to tell you the truth, it's not very good to use. Often my kids have to travel to Carlsbad to use the appropriate length pools to be able to get the correct times, because our pools don't have the correct times to use for high school. On the topic of the new swimming pool, according to well-known African-American swimmer, now a famous ESPN personality, Saber Mohammed, he gave his opinion about the importance of modern swimming pools. He said, "No one dies from not being able to play basketball." In other words, swimming is not just an exercise. It's a life-saving skill. Having therapeutic or ADA modern design pools help people in the community who have special needs. I was here just a few months ago, just as many in this room were, and we witnessed a promise from you. And you guys promised that in this meeting, after we pass the measure and we vote and approve it, we'll get our pool. Well, great news. We passed it. We're paying for it. It's time for the pool. Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Arlene Hammerschmidt, Ivy Road in Fire Mountain. First of all, I was looking for the additional materials that were mentioned. I didn't see any additional materials supplied. So therefore, the public is relatively uninformed about this. I am opposed to this concept idea because it basically jumps over the Citizens Oversight Committee, which is what we were promised. Speaking of a promise, we had the promise of citizens' oversight on these expenditures. Therefore, it is premature, as the mayor mentioned. Cities have responsibility to be and uphold integrity. In other words, doing what we say we will. What the city said would happen is, this is contrary to what the city's description was on our ballot. On our ballot, there was no mention of this project. There was, however, mentioned citizens' oversight. And I'm not going to spend the time on all that language. I coached boys swimming and diving at Oceanside High School in the late 70s with Nelson Elmore. We coached against Bill Porter. And I fought with Bill Porter to try to get a pool on the El Camino campus or anywhere else. I am a member of the group that supports the Aquatic Center, but not like this. This is just wrong. To do one thing which is opposite from what you said you would do. And the personal promises between council and citizens group or council and the swimming group to get this passed and then we'll see if we can get us a pool, I'm sorry, that is completely overridden by the language of on the ballot. Do not be a party to this attempted bait and switch. It's a con on our voters. No on this and yes on integrity. I would vote for a ballot to tax me some extra money to pay for that aquatic center. Just be straight up forward with this. This is not straightforward. This is duplicitous. It is... I don't like it. You can tell I don't like it. We could do it better. Let's just do what we said we would do on the ballot. That's what people voted for. That's what we were promised. Do it right. Thank you.
And the last two speakers are Joanne Boltman and Scott Wagner.
Hello, Joan Blackman, Alberta Street. I'm also a member of Friends of El Corazon and hardly support the pool, but I'm here more as a parent. I grew up as a swimmer. I have asthma, and I could never run. I was not into ball sports. My oldest son, who is now a sailing instructor, was not into ball sports. My other two did very well with ball sports. So you need something besides ball sports for kids. And it is a matter of life and death. For kids with asthma who can't run necessarily, swimming is an incredibly wonderful activity for that and keeps you physically fit. We have a population here that is not known for knowing how to swim, and they are at risk. So this is not a luxury. It is a necessity for those kids. It also, as mentioned, we have been planning El Corazon for a very long time. The pool has always been part of that. If the specific plan was approved in 2009, and we do need to get this pool going. The land is there, we're ready for it, we just need to construct it, and it is more than just a pool, it's a necessity. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. Scott Wagner, Fire Mountain, lifelong community member, very active in the community, both as down at the beach with the lifeguards, with the schools as a teacher, as a swim coach, as a father with 3 kids that have grown up and still live in the area. I've seen the value of the pool, not only for young kids, but I've seen it for the entire community. You have a lot of people coming in and representing the young facet of the community. A lot of great points have already been made, but let's not forget it was made right next. It's supposed to be right next to the senior center. It's not far from the Veterans Center. It's in a place in Oceanside that is perfect. We have 2 pools. Obviously, as you've heard, they're outdated, and they're on the western portion of the city. We have that whole entire Rancho del Oro area that's pretty much vacant. This would be a huge asset to the city. There was concern, obviously, about the funding. This has been a long time coming. We were told that there was concern about the ongoing cost and that Measure X would help with that, and it passed. All the ducks are lined up. The council made its promise last time we met. You made a promise that you were going to get this passed. I know Councilmember Kime and Councilmember Rodriguez, you're new. Hopefully you've had time to research it, look at both the value and the asset to the city, not so much as financially, but as a value that goes beyond money, sort of the value that the senior center has brought, the value that the Mance Buchanan has brought. These are all things that give a sense of community. That's what keeps people in this community, as opposed to having to go to Carlsbad and other areas to have these types of facilities. Oceanside is a large city. It's 160,000 plus. Our city is doing extremely well. We just passed Measure X. We've gone through all the steps. We've dotted the I's. We've crossed the T. Let's do the right thing. Let's get this thing continuing to move forward. Thank you very much. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you for all of your comments. First off, I would like to say that, I think the projects that the mayor and Deputy Mayor Feller brought forth, I think they're great projects. The aquatic center, the bathrooms, El Corazon, these are great projects that I think that I could at some point get behind and move forward, absolutely. But it's imperative, in my opinion, that we actually begin receiving this additional sales tax. At this juncture, all we have is estimations. I want to see funds start coming in and see those numbers start coming in. These funds belong to Oceanside. They belong to the residents. And we just today established an oversight committee with the responsibility to meet and get resident feedback and report back to council and to keep track of that. And so that's their function. They have a defined role, they have a function to deliberate and get resident feedback. And so I think these are great projects, but I think this is a little bit premature to be giving staff direction before we have funds coming in, 1, and 2, before our oversight committee, the watchdogs for this sales tax, have an opportunity to deliberate and gain feedback. And in the end, I think we're going to end up close to the same spot, but we need to do this the right way. And so I will not be supporting moving forward on these funds and allocations tonight.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. I will admit that I was really surprised to see this coming forward. I was a strong supporter of Measure X, as was our mayor. I believe Councilmember Feller voted to put it on the ballot, but personally said he was against it. I think Christopher also said he was against it. I think he campaigned against it. I'm not sure where you were on this. But there was a lot of discussion about X. There was a survey that was done, and the wording for Measure X was based on the survey and what the community would be willing to support by a vote of over 50%. I think it ended up, I forget what it was, but we were looking at maybe over 60%, the survey said. 64% was the survey. And what came out loud and clear is public safety, infrastructure, fixing roads, homelessness, addressing homelessness, and I think there were some other things there. But public safety was a very, very important reason. It's here on the agenda, and I know at least 2 council members are supporting this. For me, Fire Station 1 should have been built a long time ago. And I think that the community knew very well that Fire Station 1 was on the top. We're talking about public safety to the nth degree. We are not prepared for a fire in a mid-rise building, or even in a parking lot, underground parking lot. We are so behind in terms of having a real Fire Station 1 that absolutely, I think that's something, even though I would prefer to have had a quick kind of like workshop to make sure that we were all on the same page on this, or, you know, more or less consensus. I'm assured that we are going to have a workshop as part of the budget process, so the budget workshop will include our opportunity and the public's opportunity to weigh in on the $77 million. It is a finite amount of money. And I actually don't know what it actually is going to end up being, right? Because I don't know, if we start bonding against it, money that we get, it's probably going to be less, right? So I asked staff how much the beach improvements are, and the beach improvements are at $8 million. And for Fire Station 1, about $8 million. That's $16 million, possibly up to 20. And then, and those two, that was the other thing. When I went around asking people to please support X because, of our very real needs, the bathrooms, as Peter has indicated, are absolutely necessary. We've got crumbling concrete. We need a better walkway. There are so many things that we could end up being liable for, and it is a public works project that was created in the 30s. It's iconic to Oceanside. This is definitely something that we need. So I actually would like to bifurcate Fire Station 1 and the beach bathrooms as something they're a high priority. They've been a high priority. Anybody listening to or discussing what our needs are, definitely that. Fire Station 8, there are a whole lot of lists that I'm happy that we're going to be able to get to. What I would add to the swimming pool that I support 1,000%. The last direction that I recall is that this was going to come back this past fall with direction that it be paid through extending the bonds for the Civic Center. And that is definitely something that I support. I know that the swimming pool was not listed for Measure X, and therefore I would like to vote to make it happen with extending the bonds. So, with your permission, was there a motion made? Okay. There was no motion. Okay. I would like to make a motion that we move forward on the beach bathrooms and Fire Station 1, and that, with respect to the swimming pool, I'd like to make a separate motion. So that would be my first.
We still have a laundry list of speakers. Councilmember Kine? Okay. I want to hear from everybody first, then we'll come back to your motion.
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of the more difficult items that's come up. I'm a lifelong swimmer and water polo player and also a lifeguard. I taught swim lessons at Marshall Street and Brook Street. So I absolutely understand the significance of having a quality aquatic center in the city and the good it can do for our children. I will be one of the first people to use it if it opens, but I'm also concerned about borrowing against a number that we don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, and so that is concerning to me. I think the pool is a want right now, and it's on the top of my list. Beach bathrooms and fire stations are needs, and I think those need to be addressed, but I think we need to move a little more slowly when it comes to the pool.
Thank you. Is it possible we could move these projects forward in another form? I mean, I support what we're doing here, but in order to get everybody on board, move it to because we talked about the bonding for we're almost paid off here in the Civic Center, so I don't know if we can get to that from this point here. I would be willing to indulge the city manager.
Is that a second? Is that a second to the motion?
I'll second your motion.
Okay.
I guess the question will be, is the $2 million from the Civic Center, is that still available?
We can do that then.
Honorable Mayor, council members. So the bonds on the building, which cost about $2 million a year, are paid off this November. That $2 million has already been folded into the current 5-year forecast. But that doesn't mean that can't be changed. To fund the pool, it's essentially, it's easy. It's either Measure X, bonding, or a combination thereof. It's pretty simple. Those are our choices. We could probably take $1 million of that $2 million and bond for 30 years and pay for the pool, if that's the desire of the council.
It is.
So I would support that. I don't know how you bifurcate it, because if you're not willing to do the pool in this, you shouldn't be willing to do Fire Station 1, and I support Fire Station 1. I supported it when it came forward to us about 2005 or 6.
Right.
But we've lollygagged with that quite a bit, and the beach restrooms as well. So, I mean, I don't know how you can be for one or the other, but...
one is X and the other one is extending the bond for the Civic Center.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
So, talking about extending the bonds needs to be an agenda item, and it needs to be posted for us to even...
Just direction to staff. They'll come back.
Oh, so to prepare numbers? So we're not actually making a vote on a decision, is what you're saying?
We be direction to staff. It actually was supposed to come back already last fall. So, yes, we can do that today. Direction to staff.
Yeah, you have the authority to generally give direction with respect to the funding for these 3 projects, but of course, we're going to have to come back and prepare implementing documents for all of these projects. So to the extent, I think the current motion is, if I understand it correctly, is to basically do a loan from the portfolio to fund Fire Station 7 and the bathrooms. That's what I meant. You don't have enough money to probably do Fire Station 7 again, but Fire Station 1 and the bathrooms to be repaid by Measure X proceeds.
And then the second
And then the
motion
second
would be-
component would be to basically develop a financing plan for the pool, anticipating the issuance of bonds. But of course, you're not issuing bonds, you're not prepared to do that now. And there are going to have to be probably ordinance changes in our city code that we're going to need to bring forward in order to implement that.
What would be the harm in waiting for our oversight committee to meet and get public feedback before moving on these great projects? I don't understand the rush in moving forward on a motion tonight when we've just established an oversight committee. We should give them the opportunity, and we should receive some funds back from the state before moving forward. It makes the most sense.
They'll still have an
It's not our money to make decisions on, it's theirs.
It's not theirs either. It's the city's.
It's the city's.
It's the citizens of who vote, well, it's all of us now because it got voted in. So
what's the point of the oversight committee if we're going to be making decisions before they have the opportunity to meet?
it's an advisory committee. It will go to them and then it'll come to us. This is direction staff to bring it forward, to bring this back in the format that it needs to be, which is ordinance changes, establishing these funds, that whole thing. And before that comes to the council, it'll go to them and then it'll come to the council.
So we're not allocating Measure X money at this point. It's just giving staff direction to prepare a plan that we can vote on at a future date. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that would include a loan agreement, if it is a loan agreement from the portfolio. That would all definitely have to come back in front of you.
So I will second the motion to advance the funds on Measure X for the beach restrooms and Fire Station 1. Please vote. Okay. We're going to come back with the pool. I mean, there'll be a second motion on the pool.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you. And then the second motion would be to direct staff to bring this back to council, the swimming pool back to fund with extension of the bonds. Is there a second?
Second.
Please.
My only concern of coming back with, the project is out to bid right now. My only concern is I want to make sure that when the bids open and we come back that there's adequate funds to pay to build the pool. And whether it's just bonds or it's a combination of bonds, development impact fees, and Measure X, or any combination thereof, I'm fine with that. If it's just limited to the bonds, my concern is, as the city manager mentioned, those monies have already been rolled into the 5-year forecast. Which means if we take that money back out, it's going to impact the long-term forecast. So if it's any combination, as the city manager and staff feel will pay for it.
My intention is that the bonds will be paying for it, whether we borrow it through other forms, but that the bonds of extending the bonds will be the funding mechanism.
I just want to make sure if those funds are inadequate, that the staff has the ability to add Measure X money to that if they need to.
Which will start.
I have one thing I want to go over in reference to the pool. In sitting down with our finance director, right now the Brook Street pool alone is costing close to $50,000 a month by itself. Brook Street and Marshall together are costing our city $748,000 a year. In my opinion, if we build the aquatic center, we need to close down one or the other. We have to save money. Brook Street's sinking into the ground. Let's do something better for our city with that space. That's my opinion on that.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
We're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back with the public hearing item at that point. I agree with you.
Oceanside Public Library, we love reading so much that we host not one, but 5 distinct book clubs. Our book clubs meet once a month and are led by a librarian to guide and add to the discussion. The groups meet at various times and enjoy a broad range of book selections. We have something for everyone. Our current book club offerings include Civic Center Library Book Club, Mission Branch Library Book Club, LGBTQ Book Club, Mystery Lovers Book Club, Country Club Lane Senior Center Book Club. In addition to our 5 book clubs, the library offers Book Club in a Bag. Each bag contains 6 to 8 copies of the same title and is lent for an extended period of time. Whether you already belong to a book club or are thinking of starting one, Book Club in a Bag is perfect for you. For a list of current and future book club titles or Book Club in a Bag titles, please visit the library's website, oceansidepubliclibrary.org, or call 760-435-5600.
It takes a truly special place to create an exceptional event. And here at the Country Club Senior Center, we are looking to do just that. Whether you are hosting a quinceañera, performance, birthday party, or any important event, we invite you to tour Country Club Senior Center at 455 Country Club Lane here in Oceanside. The 2,300 square foot auditorium can accommodate up to 120 guests. Classrooms are also available with 4 separate rooms, or retract the walls for a bigger space. For more information and to schedule the facility, please email Parks and Rec Admin Facility Rentals or call 760-435-5533. Are you on the hunt for classroom space to teach a yoga class or to hold a meeting? El Corazon has you covered. Our classroom is 3,100 square feet, and retractable walls can create 4 smaller rooms to allow different activities to be in session at one time. A wide array of recreational activities, from fine arts to exercise classes, may be accommodated. Both the classroom and the attached outdoor patio are available for rentals 7 days a week. Let us know how many people are in your party, when you want to meet, and we'll have the room set to your needs. For more information and to schedule the facility, please email Parks and Rec Admin Facility Rentals or call 760-435-5533.
City Council meeting and go to item 14, which is a introduction of ordinance and adoption of a resolution regarding zoning ordinance. You don't look like Amy. It is, and we will start with disclosures.
Just staff.
Staff.
No contract.
Jeff?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Jeff Hunt, City Planner, substituting for Amy tonight. This item involves the incorporation of modifications suggested by the Coastal Commission to the city's recently updated wireless facility zoning regulations. The state and federal governments have recently adopted new laws that mandate a streamlined review process by local governments for wireless facilities. In order to update the city's zoning regulations in response to the state and federal laws, and also to further streamline the review process, the council adopted new wireless zoning regulations in March of 2018. These regulations are now effective, except they are not effective in the coastal zone because they require Coastal Commission certification before they become effective. In October of 2018, the Coastal Commission approved the city's zoning regulations with two suggested modifications. The two modifications address the requirement for a coastal development permit, if applicable, and the preference for sites that have minimal impact to coastal resources. Staff believes the suggested modifications are acceptable and recommend council approval by introducing the ordinance and adopting the resolution in your packet. The zoning amendments with the modifications will then be resubmitted to the Coastal Commission for their concurrence and become effective in the coastal zone. I'll be happy to answer any questions at the sidebar.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this issue? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes, move introduction of the ordinance and adopt the resolution.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
I need to title this, Mr. Mayor. This is the introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside adopting ZA 16-00010 with California Coastal Commission suggested modifications. You also have the resolution as part of the motion.
Can we vote now?
Yes.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
So now we'll go back to the final council member items. Item 20, which is a request by Councilmember Rodriguez and Deputy Mayor Speller.
So the council policy 100-02, which allows council members items to be due to the city manager's office. Right now there's about a 3-week lead time for a council member to put an item on the agenda. I'm wanting to move to change that to where it would be due to the city manager's office by 10 a.m. on the Monday, the week prior to the city council meeting for which the item is proposed, and direction of staff. So it's about a 9-day lead time. I spoke with the city manager and staff, and they were pretty confident that they could accommodate that and have everything typed up and put on the website for the public.
Sorry, public. I will go along with that with, if I could, for two considerations. One, the current policy has the ability to do an addendum. With the time period being pushed to 9 days, I would recommend that we get rid of that addendum. And I would also suggest that we maybe put a limit on the total number of items that we put on the agenda at any one point in time to, maybe 3. So,
The total, between all, for any council meeting?
there's usually not that many. But with that, I would second that. Councilman Sanchez?
Thank you. Well, I actually voted against moving it from, 20, 30 years where you could put it the Wednesday before at 10 a.m. And I'm assuming it's 10 a.m., right? Yeah. I'll support this. I never really understood why it was extended to 3 weeks. I believe it had to do with me, but I don't know why. I think I did 2 in 1 year, one the year before that, and so that's it. I believe it had to do with the item that I requested, which was to respond to allow staff to respond to the Logan Lipton tragedy that we had on Coast Highway, where he was a young man was on a bicycle and got hit and was killed. And so the community was very, very upset, young man that everybody knew so well. And so I think that's what happened, is the hearing that we had was very emotional. And while all I did was say, we need to discuss this direction of staff, I think 3 weeks would have been, maybe they thought it should have been a cooling period, but I think people wanted the city to react. So I'm going to support this because I never really saw the need for extending it 2 weeks. Thanks.
And the city attorney reminded me that this will have to come back with a council policy change.
Well, we'll make the changes based upon your direction, put it on consent for your next meeting.
Yeah, and, in terms of, this is for future, like limiting them, how many, would that be 1 per council member then?
It'd be 3 total, is what we did.
3 total, but how do you know? So I think that it would be best to do it per council member, which is what we had before. We actually had, I think, 1 per, so that would be a total of like 2 per month. So,
What the 1 per council member would be a maximum of 5. Whatever the pleasure of the council is, I think we should just limit them.
we don't usually have that many, so, but I think it would be hard pressed to have 1 council member have 3 and, and nobody else be able to do anything.
Councilman Feller?
One person doesn't have any say. It takes 2 anyway, to council members to put it on an agenda.
Well, I'd like to change that too.
What I would like to know is when we put this in place.
Honorable Mayor, council members, we could bring it back at the meeting, your next meeting on the 27th on consent.
Thank you.
And we could start implementing it now if that's your pleasure, but we just need to formally amend the council policy, and we can't do that just because
It's a policy.
Yeah.
Councilman Rodriguez?
So just so I'm clear, on the motion we're making is a maximum of 3 council items per council meeting, per meeting, 9-day lead time, and no addendum policy. The addendum policy would be removed.
And if that becomes a problem, we can always...
No. So I moved a motion on that.
Please vote.
Motion passes by vote.
Item 21, Councilmember Rodriguez and Councilmember Kine.
Busy night tonight, so I'm actually really excited about this program. I think that it's just a pebble in a pond, but I think it's something that we can move forward on as a city, as a council, as the city staff. So I request that within 90 days, staff to develop a homeless work program that facilitates the funding of up to 25 Oceanside resident homeless, with considerations outlined in the reference memo. And some of those items would involve the city caseworkers, to assist with qualifying and pre-screening Oceanside homeless residents for the new work program, caseworker to be the primary referral source, and guidelines to be developed on standards and procedures. City to contract with a third-party nonprofit like Alpha Project, Salvation Army, or a local church to facilitate the hiring and managing of the workers. The nonprofit is to act in the capacity of the employer, not the city of Oceanside. Staff to provide estimated program costs and details per worker to be approved. Staff to consider transportation logistics of workers between beautification projects. That also can be a part of item 3. Staff to provide name and branding suggestions of this program. And staff to investigate any grant opportunities available to offset program costs. And so again, I'm really excited about it. I've had the opportunity to sit down with the HOT team, the caseworker, and just ask a lot of questions. They're doing such a great job. They're working hard, and I think this would just be a supplemental item to put Oceanside residents that are homeless to work so that they can provide for themselves and have that dignity to move forward and get a fresh start.
The first speaker is Arlene Hammersmith, followed by Drew Andrea.
Council and Mayor, good evening. I want to congratulate our 2 rookies for bringing forward a little out-of-the-box thinking. I know that other cities have successfully run programs like this, and I'm not sure where the funding came from in the other cities that were successful, whether it came from the city treasury or whether it came from the nonprofit. Seems to me a nonprofit might have to have extra money to take on an extra requirement, so there might need to be some incentive in there somewhere. But I also want to tell you just a quick story about a homeless guy that used to camp out on the Bank of America parking lot that I would run into on Thursday mornings. And I walked by one time and I just told him hi. He was like, holy cow, somebody said hello to me. The next time and I would always pick up trash on my way to the farmer's market. And I asked, next time I picked up trash, I walked by and I said, good morning, how's it going? Pretty good. He's still like astounded that anybody's talking to him. And I came back from the farmer's market and I said, so is this your place? Because I could tell he was sleeping there. And there was trash all around, all over, everywhere. And so I asked him, how close is the nearest trash can? It was right over there by Tasty Freeze or whatever that fast food place is across the street. I said, well, how about helping me keep this section of the road, just this sidewalk, a little cleaner? He said, at least he's making eye contact with me, right? And so next week I came by and I said, how's it going? He goes, good. I said, the place really looks better. He picked up all of his trash, all of his, frankly, human defecation, and his bedding was hidden. It wasn't obvious. And I said, it looks good. He goes, I like it too. And there was a little sparkle in his eye. And so for the next 2-3 weeks, we just talked. But there was a connection, and there was pride, and there was, instead of being, just humbled down and ignored by the majority of people. So I think this is a win-win. I congratulate you on bringing it forward, and I see only good possibilities. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. I'm just going to piggyback on what Arlene said. I think this is a great program. I'd like to recognize Mr. Kime and Mr. Rodriguez on bringing some ideas forward. I'd like to see the board bringing new ideas to Oceanside. I think that with putting a program like this forward, we're going to see fiscal benefits. I'm out there in District 1, and I see every single week there's trash piling up in the riverbed. I see the crews coming out cleaning it up, whether that's city staff or is it third-party contractors. Either way, the cost it's a burden to Oceanside. I think bringing this program forward, you're going to see a lot of the population in the riverbed and the shelters come through and start taking pride in their area and start cleaning up the areas and being mindful and considerate of the area. And I think that this is going to be good. I think this is going to start that spark
that some people need, where they get the sense of purpose and have something to do throughout the day that keeps them busy and brings something to their lives and helps them move forward. So I do appreciate you guys looking at this, and I'm interested to see what the program looks like going forward. And that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you very much.
And the last speaker is Nick Rickey.
That's Nick Ritchie. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and I too want to piggyback off of Drew. Anything that we can do that has an opportunity to bring dignity back to individuals and bring them back into wellness and bring them back into our society has merit. And I'm really excited about this. As Drew said before, I would hope that any of the work that they would be focused on would be something that once again would fiscally benefit the city, such as Drew was speaking once again, the cleanup that goes on. We're paying exorbitant amounts to these subcontractors for doing the cleanups of the camps and so forth and so on. And I would encourage once again, as Councilmember Rodriguez mentioned, that, and this is just my preference, that she partner with Bread of Life. Bread of Life has just recently instituted a new accountability system in November, and I've got high hopes for what that's going to do for bringing people back into wellness. Also, it's the shelter. It's the shelter in our area that opens up, I believe it opened up in November, will be closing in April. So I encourage you once again, I really appreciate that. It brings a lot of hope to us as citizens as well, because as we can bring people back into wellness and into society, we'll have less crime, we'll have less situations, and it will once again benefit the city greatly. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. I actually have been talking with staff about a project that we're putting people to work, actually for a while now. And we have been working on trying to get a nonprofit to pick this up. We're not in a position, of course, to hire. As I understand it, we do have a soft freeze on hiring. And when I asked how many people did we replace of the 100 plus that we unfortunately cut as part of the recession, we're still down 92 positions, 92. I did ask if we had the capacity or training within the housing department to screen and qualify Oceanside homeless individuals for a work program, and no, they do not. So it would have to be something that we'd have to contract out. Do we have the funds to hire or train such personnel? We do not have a budget for this in this fiscal year. As to Measure X, I asked if we could use this, even though it's one-time funding, because it's finite, it's $77 million, and it's for 7 years. That's it. Any program after that would actually cease. So, unless we're able to somehow find funds somewhere else. And, so, I understand that there's a potential for using Measure X money, but we'd have to find other monies, beyond the 7 years. I did ask, and Marjorie Pierce, you are here, to discuss the grant that the county, it's actually the state through the county, is making available to cities with respect to homelessness. Can you explain to us what the status is?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Marjorie Pierce, Housing and Neighborhood Services Director. Currently, there is a notice of funding availability through the Regional Task Force on the Homeless for homeless emergency assistance programs. The window for the RFP is only 30 days. So to set up a project, Escondido was actually looking at doing this and said there is no way that they could do it within the time period to apply for funds for a new program. It's roughly $14.4 million that is going to be allocated throughout the county of San Diego. In North County, only 3 cities are eligible to apply directly, and that's Escondido, Encinitas, and Oceanside. A lot of the money that will be applied for is to do prevention and intervention programs
And one of the things that we've identified and are utilizing are resources to help get our homeless folks into housing with security deposits, utility deposits, credit checks that need to be paid for, and getting them moving expenses. So we are looking to see that Interfaith Community Services takes the lead in applying for those types of monies. As Councilmember Sanchez mentioned, it's been some time that we've been discussing doing a program to employ homeless folks.
Right.
And it was one of the problems was identifying funding to do it. And by the way, I had talked to Bread of Life a couple of weeks ago, and they do not have the capacity to do a work program. I also talked to the Goodwill. They've indicated that they're not interested, so we need to find a nonprofit that's interested. I've worked with the Alpha Project, like you mentioned, Councilmember Rodriguez. One of the things that they have great success is that they have a program, the homeless people work, but they have a place to go every single night to sleep too. So there's a lot of carrots to make those types of programs work. So I don't know, the magnitude of the cost. There are jobs available out there, and so these folks are, not all of them are willing to work, and then there's other issues with getting them to show up every day if you're counting on them to actually do a job. And so there's really got to be quite a decent incentive for them to participate in a program like that.
I know Brother Benno's helps out with resumes and with, having a mailbox and really trying to get people back to work kind of thing. If it's basically a person who, for some reason, circumstances, ended up losing a job and then lost their housing. Do we know how many homeless? We just did a count, right? A homeless count. Do we know with any certainty how many homeless we have in Oceanside?
Well, the numbers that we have are based on last year's count, which was 473 that were counted in the point in time count. And the results from this year's count probably won't be available for at least 2 to 3 months is the norm.
And of those, from your survey, or polling, whatever, from last year, do we know how many would be wanting to, or are seeking a job, or needing help to get a job?
I don't have that.
Okay. So we still have to do that, get that information and get out and pretty much to find out the status of the homeless, whether it's recently, whether it's, homeless because of mental health issues, homeless because of substance use issues, those kind of things.
Yeah, the people that are coming through our office that are getting housing are mostly, a lot of them are older and have various disabilities, severely mental illness and things like that.
Is there a project that exists in North County now that is like a work project?
There are a couple of places like that people can go to. It's day labor, and the person that's employing the day laborer, it's all done with Interfaith operates one in Carlsbad, where the money comes to Interfaith and then it's guaranteed to get paid to the person for the day's work. So there are those types of day labor, daily jobs out there, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that really concerns me is that it would have to be a livable wage. In other words, it would have to be enough for someone to be able to provide for their food, clothing, shelter, and I don't believe that the kind of jobs that are out there for like day labor or like beautification, that would probably be minimum wage, which I guess is $15. So how, this actually won't completely, address the issue of our homelessness, and the issue is making sure that people end up off the streets. So we talked about perhaps partnering with Maricosta, and actually Maricosta already has some programs, job training programs, that were better than, say, minimum wage jobs, right?
I think that's another really good idea, is that the AmeriCosta College has 3 programs currently operating out of John Landis Center. They're training programs. And the enrollment, I think the cost for enrollment is like $350. They're doing solar. They're teaching them how to do solar, how to welding, and the third, I think they did upholstering. And then now they're training people to work in the craft breweries and know how to calibrate the machines and everything, and there's a big market for hiring for that. So, I mean, that might be an opportunity to actually pay some tuition to AmeriCosta College for some of the folks that might want to really get off the streets and then get into a good job.
So, how much time would it take to send out and, receive and then review the request for proposals?
Councilman Sanchez, you're down to your last minute.
Okay. How much time would it, I understand it would take 60 to 90 days?
Oh, I think at least.
Request for proposal? Okay. Thank you very much, Marjorie.
Councilman Keller.
I'm almost done. Right. I don't think this is going to address homelessness. It's my concern. I've worked with, for example, Alpha Project when I was a public defender, and folks that worked through Alpha Project remained homeless. That's a very, very difficult situation. I think that what we really need to do is direct staff to come up with a program that's going to really, really result in addressing homelessness with work, with counseling, with housing, and ensure that we've got the funds for it and we've got an RFP so that we can get the best possible project. Thank you.
Councilman Feller.
Thanks. I'll try to be brief. Tim, who is the new CEO at Bread of Life, has a desire to educate and train and house up to 50, I think is the number, for beds, and at the same time they have a place to come and go from. I think it's a unique opportunity. I don't remember the combination of men versus women, but they're just looking for an opportunity to train the ones that actually want to be trained. So that's a very key thing. I think we should definitely look at Bread of Life as an opportunity to help some of the people that we're referring to here. I would encourage you to, if you haven't been to see them yet, to go see them. They're there every day, and the people are housed in. It's not your own little house. It's beds. So I think that's one thing that could be an opportunity. I don't see living wage as the ultimate goal here. I think they have to start somewhere, and maybe living wage is hard to live up to for somebody like Alpha Project. So I think we need to work on this and figure out how staff can come up with a plan, if there is a plan. I'm not really sure how you end up, but I just think that it's a great opportunity to help those people that are in need.
I would just like to say I think this is a very good idea. I know between the city and the nonprofits, there are a number of outreach programs to help the homeless. And I think anything we can do, if it's not 25, even if it takes 2 people off the street, I think it will have been a success. And so I'd like to see us move forward on a study, because anything we can do is going to provide some help. So, Councilmember Rodriguez?
I heard a lot of talk about talking to staff and talking about ideas. I got elected because I want to bring more than talk. I want to bring action. And so that's what I'm doing here tonight, is bringing action so that our city can have a small win toward addressing the homelessness crisis that we have all over this state and all over this county and in North County. So I would like to move on a motion, as stated on item 21, for staff within 90 days to develop a homeless work program that facilitates the funding of up to 25 Oceanside resident homeless with considerations of the referenced memo.
Councilor McCann?
I'll make this brief as well. This is an issue I have a lot of familiarity with my time at the Oceanside Police Department. I worked on our neighborhood policing team, so we worked throughout the neighborhoods to try to figure out what was causing these small quality of life issues that actually end up being more disruptive than you would imagine, whether it's shopping carts or it's minor theft. And for the homeless problem right now it's countywide. It's not something that we are dealing with ourselves, and it's a humongous challenge, but we have to start somewhere. And I don't know if this program is going to be successful, and it might not. There might be too many challenges, but you don't succeed if you don't try at all. So this is something that we can take a step forward. We can learn what worked, if they worked well, and what didn't work, and move on from there. I think this homeless problem can be tackled, one stone at a time as we, try to build a solution.
Is that a second?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 4-1. Does Councilmember Sanchez vote no?
Do we have anyone on 16?
The first speaker is Nick Ritchie, followed by Becky Johnson.
Mayor, City Council members, my name is Nick Ritchie. I live at 133 Sherry Lane. At a budget workshop in April 2018, of which Council Member Kime and Rodriguez obviously were not at, the City Council directed engineering to move forward with the Melrose Drive Gap project. The cost, according and excluding land purchase, has risen to $42 million. Of course, each one of you are aware of our budget. $152 million comes in, $151 million goes out. This project is not needed. It is a want. And I appreciate Councilmember Kime using those very words, want versus need. It's very important to understand that distinction when you're spending your own money, and especially taxpayer dollars. It's really, if this project went through, it would really only increase people's convenience. That's the only thing that would be better, would make it more convenient. It certainly would not make any improvement to safety or tourism. Our tax dollars would be better spent on needs that directly impact safety, tourism, and quality of life issues. And of course, the mayor kind of stole my thunder there. I was at those bathrooms this morning. And I'd invite any of you to come on down and use that bathroom and walk out feeling good about it. So, knowing that the pier bridge has been declared seismically unfit, kind of shifting here, and the repairs, originally estimated at $30 million, must be completed in the near future. I haven't heard anybody tonight speak about that as a need. $30 million for the pier bridge. If that's not addressed, we're going to have to close the bridge. That's going to impact, once again, tourism, which is incredibly important. And then, once again, as we said before, the pier bathrooms, the police department substation, the maintenance substation, and the Tyson Park bathrooms. Once again, just sitting in the city planner's office, Plans are just languishing. Everybody says we can't find any funds. Well, obviously, this is extremely important to the city. It would improve the image of our city and would encourage and maintain tourism. Right now, in the words of my grandson, who used that bathroom, why are the bathrooms so ghetto, Grandpa? Well, I didn't have an answer to that. Another thing that we need to look at is retention of city employees. There's now been a COLA raise in the last 3 years. That money would be much better well spent with those folks. Retention. We lost Zach Beck. And once again, right now the city clerk is going to get, what, $25,000? And we're going to lose that new person as well. Please make decisions based on needs, not wants. Thank you.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Becky Johnson. My husband runs and operates a skilled living home facility, and this business is subject to extremely detailed regulations and regular inspections. However, there are no state licensed testing facilities in San Diego County to assist with the important step of inspections with marijuana. It is important that the first marijuana business you consider in Oceanside is a testing facility so that the safety and cleanliness of marijuana sold and grown and marijuana products produced at facilities are known, because as you know, these products are taken into the body. When and if these products are tested outside of the county, they often fail because potency of THC is incorrectly noted, and purity is contaminated by pesticides and heavy metals. These failed tests are particularly high in marijuana-infused cookies and candies and have been recalled. I feel that the city's highest priority should be to the safety. A testing lab should have the highest priority in marijuana business applications. Some people claim that marijuana sales, cultivation, and manufacturing will bring in revenue to the city, but they're ignoring the cost to our communities and families. I know these costs firsthand, as I am the mother of 5 children and I'm raising a 2-year-old whose mother was a longtime drug user. This mother's marijuana addiction was based on the myths of marijuana use sent by the adults and a billion-dollar marijuana advertising industry, clearly in plain view as you drive on our highways and city streets. I fear that the marijuana industry is descending on Oceanside too quickly without the due diligence necessary for dealing with the psychoactive drug, for which a growing body of research is indicating that more harm than good comes from its use. Just like the tobacco industry, the marijuana industry will only profit if more people use marijuana for the first time, and those who already use more marijuana daily. Please consider restrictions of billboards, magazines, advertisements, special events, and farmers markets. I know that there were city council members who did not want marijuana businesses in Oceanside. However, for those of you who are welcoming them, it seems a lot like we're saying yes. Sell more, advertise more, promote more, addict more. No one would do that with tobacco, and so we don't need to do that with marijuana. This enabling of large cultivation sites and factories around town seems highly unfortunate for Oceanside, who prides itself as a city who wants to be seen for all of its environmental beauty, who supports youth in their activities, and who treasures academic and economic success for their citizens. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kathleen Lippett and Julia Shiver.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Kathleen Lippett. As a public health practitioner, I'm concerned about the potential for drug policies, though well-intentioned, go awry. I would like to respectfully call attention to a few critical issues regarding the marijuana ordinance. In the names of businesses, transparency is critical and it serves the public good. The names of businesses should include the term cannabis or marijuana to prevent the public as well as city staff confusion regarding the primary focus of the business. The use of LLCs instead of individual names should not be permitted. Individual names should be signed as well as typed for clarification. Please protect city residents and existing community-friendly businesses whose voices are often silenced out of concern for the potential litigation by industry players with deep pockets and attorneys. The city might incorporate a mechanism to prevent existing community businesses from being displaced or having to shutter. Requiring these businesses to be standalone buildings could help prevent displacement of existing tenants. A healthy business mix can quickly morph into a collection of less than family-friendly businesses. Since these marijuana businesses are limited to medical, it would be wise to limit the THC levels consistent with medical use and not to attract recreational users. There are lessons to learn from Northern California regarding the impacts of marijuana grows and manufacturing. Residents, wine and greenhouse flower growers united to vent their rage at public meetings at their electeds over the noxious odor of marijuana permeating their communities. Marijuana industry consultants cite the lack of local industry CEQA ordinances, testing-related issues, lead contamination in disposable vaping cartridges, and the inability to create a viable track-and-trace system. The state gave the industry a CEQA grace period until 2009, but local jurisdictions are required to do their own CEQA reviews. Odor is a common complaint and currently ongoing. Carbon filters reportedly reduce odors by 98%, but they would have to be required. Competition with applicants should be expected to be contentious or worse. With massive potential profits at stake, applicants may become less than civil. In Tijuana, where the competition among cartels and local drug traffickers is intense and also brutal, over 2,500 people were killed in 2018. City governments will be challenged to maintain control over a highly profitable and predatory industry. Capping the number of marijuana businesses would be advantageous to the city and allow your city staff to work on businesses other than marijuana. Thank you.
Julia Schreiber. The next speaker is Tim Broom.
Hello, my name is Tim Broom. I'm a resident of the East Side neighborhood of Oceanside. Early last week, we had an aircraft that departed Oceanside Airport crash into the adjacent hillside upon departure. One person died from this mishap, another trapped for several hours. Several times I've come to City Council here to discuss with you my concerns regarding safety at the airport. On my last visit, November of 2017, I told you that we would have casualties. It was just a matter of time, and now we have. I told you that your parachute operator would cause problems, and he has, with items dropping from 10,000 feet onto homes. The airport was moved to its current location in the late 1950s. Back then, I believe only few houses existed around the airport, my neighborhood and the San Juan Capistrano neighborhood. An open-air shooting range was close by, as well as drive-in and the swap meet, which closes the 24th of February. Now that is all gone, along with TE connectivity, but not our 1950s era relic called the airport. Currently, it's anything goes down at the airport. Anyone is free to use it day or night. I'll leave it up to you, your imagination, what the 3 a.m. departures and arrivals are all about. Yes, 3 a.m. departures and arrivals from an unregulated facility. No one around to watch. And I wonder what kind of money the city makes from those 3 a.m. departures and arrivals. I hear everybody talking about money all the time. What sort of money do you think the people that crashed into the hilltop brought into the city? While we're talking about free city facilities, let's just give some of our boat slips away down at the harbor, since they can come and go as they choose also, right? I think it's now time for you, the City Council, to figure out what you're going to do. Are you going to regulate the airport with the FAA and change the airspace from Class G to regulated and make improvements? Or are you going to close it and use that area to generate much-needed revenue with a new hospital or a new technology center which will make the city money while benefiting all citizens, not just the 150 resident aircraft owners who are so vociferous with their support of this venue? I see I've got 10 seconds left. Rialto, Banning, and Santa Monica have closed their airports. Not one of those city managers regrets doing so. I'll leave you with that. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Oscar Ramirez and Ryan Vaughn.
Good evening. My name is Oscar. I've been living in Oceanside for the last 43 years, and I live in 1432 Barton Street, which is my house. It's right under the path of this plane. Sometimes they fly less than 150 feet. You can see the people out there. My concern is what happened last week. Unfortunately, the guy crashed into that hill. What's going to happen if they fell into the house? We're going to lose people. And they fly right over my house. They forced me to put a sign on top of my house saying, please do not fly over my house. I have concerns. I have family. Our neighborhood have a lot of kids. So you guys need to do something about it. When they build this airport, I'm pretty sure when they submit the plans for this thing, they also submit a flying path. They don't follow that. They should go wherever they want. Unfortunately, this guy, what happened to this guy, he missed just the hill, he crashed right into it. He made a really hard left turn. He should go all the way up to the ocean to make the turn, not over the house. These guys, do something. It's time. You guys can do it, not me. You guys can do it. Talk to these guys. Let them know there's a path to fly, not just whatever they want. Thank you.
Ryan Vaughn.
Hello, Council. My name is Ryan Vaughn. I am a PhD economist here to speak on behalf of the Surfrider Foundation and the Climate Reality Project. I am here to ask you to direct staff to add a presentation of the completed CCE feasibility study to a future council meeting, and also please to add community choice energy as an item on the Oceanside's climate action plan. I think this is the only way to achieve the energy goals laid down by Governor Brown last year of 100% renewable energy in California by 2045. That's all I really have to say. So please add that on the agenda so it can be presented for public comment. Thank you very much.
And the last two speakers are John Waters and Victoria.
Hi, my name is John Bodworth. I've been a resident of Oceanside for over 15 years. I live on Seagate, and I also want to talk about the CCE and Climate Action Plan, setting a goal of 100% renewable energy, definitely going with CCE, and specifically I want to talk about two parts of the CAP. One is the urban forestry and reducing transportation emissions through no idling and public transportation. The San Diego County Department of Parks and Rec has a San Luis Rey River Park in their master plan, and I would ask the City Council to work with them directly to get that park developed as quickly as possible. That would go a long way to bring a lot more vegetation, a lot more trees into Oceanside, which would help alleviate the greenhouse gases required for the CAP in the county and the city. And the second part is a Oceanside trolley. So let's put in a trolley to connect hotels and resorts with our beaches, our harbor, and coast highway businesses. You could link that with off-site parking, connect it to the transportation center, have a trolley route just to go to the city parks as well. This will go a long way to reduce downtown traffic and pollution, which is only going to get worse as development increases. And at the same time, it would help bring more people into our businesses, into our beaches, to increase our tourist revenue, which is already over $300 million. something like this would go a long way to increase that revenue and reduce emissions and reduce traffic. You could very easily do it, all electric, which again to help with the greenhouse gases. And there's grants available out there to help the capital expenditures and something like that. And I think something like this would help bring Oceanside into the news and as a leader into the 21st century, that we are leading the charge into this. Oceanside has the best beaches in seriously Southern California. We have better beaches than Encinitas and Carlsbad and all these other cities. Let's make that a tremendous feature and make it really easy for all these hotel guests to get to our beaches and our businesses. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Victoria from Clean Earth for Kids org. We are working for clean earth and water and land. Thank you for your help. We want 100% clean energy, no idling to keep the air safe, no pesticides in parks to keep kids safe. Thank you for your helping the homeless. I want to help the homeless when I grow up too. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Hume. I live at 517 Seagaze, or that's my mailing address. So I'm here for Clean Earth for Kids, and thank you so much for all that you do. We are so appreciative of that. We're going to talk about a strong climate action plan for Oceanside with 100% renewable energy. So we've looked at the draft, and we hope that the numbers are improved and brought up to 100% renewable energy goal. Of course, that's our CCE, Community Choice Energy, and we want to shout out to Surfrider being here and all the great people. We want the CCE because we know that it's nonprofit, and we want the funding, the extra money, to be used locally. We're excited about renewable energy to be used for that. We're excited about the idea of no idling signs in schools and parks, and we can apply for grants for that to bring down the carbon in our air. We also would like more than 200 trees planted a year, and we would like that specified in the draft, the climate action plan, so that we can be sucking up all that carbon. So we're excited about protecting our land and our water and air, as Victoria said, and we're excited about the idea of having non-toxic Oceanside join non-toxic Irvine and non-toxic Carlsbad to protect our kids. We want to say thank you so much. We appreciate all that you do. We are just so incredibly grateful for this opportunity. So thank you so much. Take care.
Are there any general council member comments?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Thank you. The Friends of the Oceanside Public Library will hold a books and media sales fundraiser Saturday, February 16th, which is a week from this Saturday, from 10 to 4 behind the Civic Center Library at 602 Civic Center Drive in Oceanside. There's going to be a lot of really great books available. Members of the Friends of the Oceanside Public Library can shop early from 9 to 10, so come on down. Also, speaking of the draft environmental impact report for both the economic development element and energy and climate action element and climate action plan have been posted for a 45-day public review. Please comment. CCE should definitely be part of it. The public review period is until March 18th. So that is available on the city's website. Also, there's going to be a second community workshop on both of these elements, scheduled for Monday, March 4th at 5:30 here at the City Council chambers. And finally, I want to express deep condolences to the Arango and Velasco Herrera families. On Tuesday, actually yesterday, we had a really bad accident on Coast and Oceanside Boulevard. 3 people, all from the same family, 3 people perished out of 6. This was a horrible, horrible situation, and I'm really, really sorry that it happened. So deep condolences to the families. Thank you.
And with that, we'll adjourn to a workshop at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, February 20th for the city clerk applications.